One of the new listings, Thyrocare, the diagnostic company that saw a subscription of over 70 times from its IPO and listed with over a 30% premium, believes that it can sustain its margins around those 40% mark or even enhance it by 1 to 2%. In an exclusive conversation with CNBC TV 18, Mr. Veulmani told CNBC TV 18 that his margins won't be diluted despite setting up more regional labs, and if needed, he will reduce prices further in order to fuel growth. He would also like to see increased regulations for diagnostic labs to streamline quality and mitigate risks. Take a look.
Ever since I knew the spelling of EBITDA and its meaning, it has been 40%. So last 10 years, 42 plus or minus 2%. I think this industry has a potential for me to enhance it 1 or 2% more and sustain it. So this EBITDA is certainly not a shock in this industry, but it is too good to believe for investors. And since I have a last 5 years numbers very much supporting it, people believe that it is actually a number, otherwise people would have doubted it.
But you're planning to set up around 4 more regional processing labs. So in that context, is it not going to be margin dilutive?
Now, if you look at it in this business, the capex is too little. So if I have a cash in hand and if I put capex in place, why should margins get diluted? Because instead of machine working in this floor, it will be working in another floor in another city. So we don't take that as truly a cost center. It's like banks opening more and more branches will not dilute its margin. It will give it a better top line, and a bank may take 1 year, 1.5 years for a break even. Similarly, for us also it's a 6 months break even, and it should be in place.
The other point of concern or maybe margin dilution would be competition in the industry. Right now, your tests are the lowest costing. Do you think that maybe you would have room to cut prices further in order to possibly fuel up growth?
I think the pricing aspect, I have done, literally speaking, the best possible, having some more room to still reduce the price, but why I wouldn't be touching that if my growth is in order. So if by any chance growth is going to be challenged, which also is potentially possible if the competition is around, I think recently I made a price reduction just 30 months back. That was by compulsion. The profits have gone up after price reduction. Now what does that mean? If I need some more, I can do it again.
You know, one of the reasons why Dr. Lal's as well as Thyrocare's got such a good reception in the equity markets is also because you don't have that risk that traditional pharma companies have because of no exposure to the US, no exposure to developed countries, and hence you don't have that regulatory risk. Do you think that eventually in India there might be a regulatory risk for diagnostic labs, say something like accreditation from NABL sort of authority might become compulsory for you?
I think there are two sides of it. When you want to earn in dollar, you will face an additional challenge. That is what all pharma companies have had good money and then lot of regulations, and today they find that as painful as a limitation. Laboratories will also go through the cycle because we also would be not very happy only to earn in Indian rupees. All of us will venture out, and majority of my competitors are also on the roads, and we are also doing some experiments. Having said that, in pharma, what a product made is consumed. In a laboratory, we only draw a blood. So I don't think regulations would trouble us to open that laboratory and close the laboratory and cancel the licenses because we are not doing anything that gets into the body. Having said that, the regulations would come in terms of streamlining the quality and the cost and the speed. I think that's good if it comes. In fact, once it comes, the unorganized segment will find it difficult to survive, and the organized sectors will grow much better. We in fact are waiting for some kind of controls so that the business is fairly well predictable, risks are mitigated. Otherwise, I don't see a risk.
You mentioned risks, and one of the things that stood out is, even in the analyst meet that Thyrocare had, is that some of your tests are not accepted, or your tests are not accepted by some hospitals as well as maybe some other doctors, etc. How do you deal with it, and why is it not accepted?
This is a past tense. I think I have managed this business in first 5 years was very tough time, because it looked like everyone was against me. I think the country has got honest doctors, and honest doctors have approved my quality. In fact, the biggest surprise came to me in this IPO is the retail subscription mine was 8 lakh applications, which means Aam Aadmi believes that this brand is trustworthy.
Okay, that's a very, very optimistic management of Thyrocare.